This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30 on Thursday, August 5th, 2021. This is the Parks and Recreation regular meeting. We have a quorum. I'm going to go ahead and call roll really quick. Tommy Eason.
Present.
Thank you. Kathy Coffey.
Here.
Thank you. Debbie Coolman.
Here.
And Caitlin Diltz here. Sean, do we have any public presentations for today? Sean, can you hear me?
Yes, I said none were giving to me.
Okay, thank you. So we will move on to regular session old business. Item A, discussion and any necessary action regarding the minutes of July 1st, 2021 Parks and Recreation Board regular session. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Tommy. Do I have a second? Thanks, Kathy. All right, all in favor, we will run down the roll. Tommy Eason.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathy.
Aye.
Thank you. Debbie Coolman.
Aye.
Thank you. And Caitlin Diltz, aye. Motion passes. All right, regular session new business. Item B, discussion regarding Parks and Recreation Board fiscal year 2021 and 2022 proposed budget. We brought this back up because I wanted to make sure everybody had a full understanding of what we were submitting for the budget. So Sean, do you mind taking the reins on this one?
Yes, when I first presented the budget in March, we had some, well, we went out, asked for quite a bit because we need things at the parks. However, due to the revenue that we had to have and what we can support in the parks, we had to do some cuts. One of the major items that we had to remove was the $17,000 mower that we needed for the parks. We are going to limp around with our two other ones, and hopefully that will last for another year. And so, unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. And another cut that we're going to have is that we had $5,000 in there to apply for grants. That is cut for right now because we have to wait truly until we do the bond for the parks. If there's no sense of having it in the budget if it doesn't pass the bond. And the court, and also we don't have to, even though if it does pass the bond, doesn't mean that we have to this coming fiscal year, apply for it. We can wait till next fiscal year and budget for that $5,000. It's just, so it gives us a little bit of flexibility. So first we need to get the grant, not the grant, but the bond passed. Then we can fund grant works to apply for the Texas Parks and Wildlife. And that's one of the things that was cut. The basic allocations for the family park, I think if you see the documentation I have, it still stayed the same. What I proposed early is still the same, and it gives you a breakdown of what we expect to spend. The $2,200 for the wood fiber, $13,000 for basic maintenance, and then about $6,000 for the three big lights in the center. We need to get those lit up because the center of the park is really dark at night. The pathway's lit up, but the middle of the park is dark, and so we need to get those lights up and running.
Okay, Sean, I have a question.
Yes.
What is engineered fiber?
It's called engineered wood fiber. It's been through a process, and basically basically what it is, it's engineered wood fiber. It's gone through the documentation, the engineer approved. It's an approved fall surface for playgrounds.
Okay, so this is replacing the,
It's
mulch?
not replacing. It's not replacing. It's not mulch. It's again, the park term that they use is engineered wood fiber. I didn't come up with a name. That was a park, the industry, the manufacturer. That's what it's called. It's called engineered wood fiber. It has been approved by the National Institute of Parks as a approved surface for playgrounds for fall protection.
Right, I looked into that when I was chair. Okay, so another question, $6,000 for light? That seems like really, really high to me. I don't know much about LED lights, but I know my LED lights in my house don't cost that much. So can you explain that?
You're sorry, Miss Easton, you were frozen. So only thing I heard was too much.
Kathy, can you turn your mic off? And caller 1 and 2, can you turn your call-ins? Can you turn your mics off, please? Because we're getting a lot of backflash feedback. Okay. Did you not hear what I said, Sean? I asked Sean.
I didn't hear anything that you said.
Okay. I'm asking about the lights for the family park. How can the LED lights cost that much? How many are you replacing them all at one time? Instead of doing it like 1 year do some and another year doing that. To me, that's a lot of money going out unless we have to have it all at one time.
Well, I did call a local electrician and had them come out and give me an estimate to replace those 3 lights. All 3 lights need to be replaced so we have adequate lighting in the park. Now, when it comes to to the final, then I'll probably call 2 or 3 other ones. This is a bid. This is a budgetary bid. We don't go out and get the final bid number right away because prices and all that stuff change. And so yeah. So if I might be able to find it cheaper, I'm not an electrician. These lights are going to be a whole lot brighter and a whole lot bigger than what you could put in your house. And so they're more of a commercial standard lighting. And so yeah, you can't compare commercial to residential. And plus what they have to remove, renting sky tracks to get up there on those tall lights that are 25 feet up in the air. And so it encompasses just a little bit more than just the lights itself. It's actually the labor, wiring, and removing the existing equipment that is up there.
Okay. Now on the Veterans Park, I know you haven't gotten there yet, but you said general maintenance and repairs like flags and lights. What about the cleaning up, the yearly pruning and stuff? We didn't do that last year, so not doing it 2 years in a row might affect the plants.
We're doing that in-house. I'm doing it. Actually, I'm doing the pruning myself. I use the proper pruning techniques to do the roses, and I think you can go out there and see the results of it already this year.
Okay.
I was gonna say I saw Sean out there clipping them himself. So
I've done it twice already this year, where removing the dead leaves and trim them back, keep them off the sidewalk so they're not on the sidewalk or over the wall, and try to maintain their height so they don't just go overgrown. So
Okay.
we're doing it in house.
All right. Thank you. Those were my questions.
Okay. All righty. Again, as she said, the Veterans Park, that's general maintenance. If the lights go out, we've had to do some light work. The ballasts went out. So we had, and a couple of the lot poles, we still have a few of them that might, we just have to have money in there for maintenance. The big ticket item that the parks has not paid in the past is actually for water that is put on the parks. Previously, they've paid for the gas and electrical, but the Parks Department has to pay for the water. The water department buys the water or produces the water, and we cannot get, the water department can't give water away, even though it's a city. Like as we've been told, has been spoke about before, the water department is a separate enterprise, and they cannot just give water away for free. And so the numbers I have, you can see in the justifications, that's based on a 6-month average from June to December of 2020. And you can see what that allocation amount, what we estimated to be for next year. However, with proper fertilization, aeration, all that stuff, we can hopefully maybe reduce that cost, because if you maintain the grounds properly through fertilization, aeration, you don't have to water as much, and your grass will grow a little better. And so it's going to take time due to the fact that, you know, it is a big area and the cost to get it done. So those are the big ticket items that we had in this year's park budget. Right now it shows that the general fund is projected to transfer $18,000. The bottom line, we're showing about $2,100, or about $3,000 over. There's two ways that either that the city council can approve the transfer of additional $3,050, or we'll take that $3,000 from the reserves to cover this year's budget. If not, then we would have to then cut that all the way based on council direction back to the 18,000, and then we'll just have to be come back and remove something from the budget. So
Okay,
there's two options, you know, actually three options either. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. There's 3 options.
Yeah, there's 3 options. Is that well, actually 2 options. Is that if council just only transfers 18 and we can't do the transfer, then we have to cut the 3,050. If the council, actually 3 options then, or if the council does approve additional $3,000, and they'll fund it by 2,100, or we have to take it out of reserves. That's the options that we have. And again, that's going to be council's decision.
Okay. Well, I was reading on this other thing that you sent us. You sent us a couple of things with the budget, and you have for next year, for 2021 and 2022, and then 22, 23, you have both lines are, let's see, mowers over 15 years old, multiple engineer. We're doing 2 $15,000 mowers in 2 years. Is that what this is saying?
That is the projection, yes, that we have. We have 2 mowers that are over 15, 16 years old. I know we replaced the engine on 2 of them. We replaced the transmission engine on 1 of them. Eventually, the cost of that unit, we're putting more money than what the value of that cost of that unit is.
But can't we get a new one next year and then wait a year? Because doing it twice in a row, we're not gonna get the budget for that, I don't think.
Okay. Again, we'll ask for it. If the council approves it, then it's good. So that's all when you do the budget, you ask for what you want, and if the council wants to cut it, they'll cut it. But
Okay.
you still got to ask for it.
Okay. Okay.
So it's just the same way with playground equipment. There, you know, the existing playground equipment, I have it in there for, you know, future replaced playground equipment. We have to replace playground equipment in the next year or 2, just because of the age and the sun damage that's happening to it. and it's beginning to get wear and tear. So, we're going to start buckling down and looking at possibly placing that playground equipment along with developing biowell. We are going to do both of them at the same time. So it's just, yeah, again, it's just one of those things. When you start developing parks, you have to not only maintain the existing parks you have and continue to improve those, but you also have to continue developing the ones that you set forth in your plan. And so it's going to be a dual process.
Okay. Thank you.
It's just going to get bigger and bigger every year when these parks start rolling. And so, you're going to look about, replacing playground equipment every 10 years, 10 to 12 years, especially with the sun and especially the Texas sun. One way we could help prevent it is possibly start putting shades on all our playground equipment. Help, one will keep the kids from getting burned, and two, keep the UV or UV rays off that plastic. Over years, UV rays on that plastic, it makes that plastic brittle. So.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
So Sean, real quick, what it sounds like to me is it might be easier for us to start going out or applying for grants as well, because I don't see city council approving $30,000 in 2 years just for mowers.
When we start, when sales tax starts coming in and and revenue starts coming into the general fund, we might have that money to buy new mowers and equipment.
Okay.
So again, we have to put it in our 5-year plan, and that's what this is we put in our 5-year plan so they can see what we need for the future, so they can start preparing for those. Doesn't mean we can get it, but we have to put in our 5-year plan to show what we're looking for in the future.
Right, and I understand that. I was just thinking of alternatives just in case.
Oh,
it's kind of that backup option.
Yeah, if we can start applying for playground equipment and grants, like I said, I've sent that stuff out, and if someone takes the bull by the horns and start, applying for those and stuff like that, we could get ahead of the game.
Thank you.
That's all I have. A couple of things that did get cut in the last year's was the minor equipment. I had it $200, and then gas and oil was $250. She went and cut that $450 out for right now, and we'll just have to work that into the line item that's called maintenance of the parks by Public Works to take those items out of it. However, next year you'll see probably those line items where when we start expanding more, you'll see possibly the Parks Department even paying for more of gas and oil for the lawnmowers, gas and oil for the weed eaters, and other equipment. And so as the Parks Department starts getting bigger, so does the budget get bigger, and the responsibility of what they have to pay, what the Parks Department has to pay for. But if anybody have any else questions on the budget? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you going over everything again. All right. And that needs no action. So we'll go ahead and move on to regular session new business. Item C, discussion and any necessary action regarding Parks and Recreation Board roles and responsibilities. Kathy, I think you brought this one up in the last meeting.
Yeah, I just think there's some confusion on what our responsibility is. Because Sean, I mean, we haven't had a public works director be this involved with us before. So I just kind of want to know what you expect from us and what do we do to help? Why are we here?
Why you're here? The Parks and Rec Board is set up as an advisory committee. The day-to-day operations and how the mowing and the maintenance of the general maintenance of the park lies directly on staff. However, the advisory of what can go on in the parks, like y'all decide on what flowers there are, or advisory of what park to develop, of advising, items that y'all want to add into the parks. That's where the Parks and Rec committee is that you oversee the beautification and it's kind of like advisory of what type of playground equipment y'all want to add, or if y'all want to add, volleyball courts, if y'all want to add, different items to that. That's where you would advise staff to go and explore that, possibly get budget numbers, and then as a group, the parks board will then, like, I guess I can go back to when I presented all those playground equipments to y'all. At the back in March, I sent that thing that had, I showed 6 different playground equipments to y'all, the small one, big one. The Parks and Rec board will then decide which playground equipment they want, what's best for that park, and then as staff, we'd go purchase that and get it installed. So as a Parks and Rec, it's an advisory on how to, and I did send y'all that ordinance, and actually it tells you the duties of the Parks and Rec. And so if you do see that ordinance and read that ordinance that was sent to y'all, it's like y'all recommended policies. The same way with like the bathroom. When I sent y'all that bathroom policies, y'all had, y'all could have added or subtracted anything to that bathroom or policy that we had, open and closing and stuff like that.
Well, Sean, the thing is, if our budget is way over, I mean, like last year it was 18,000. This year with all the new additional stuff that we have to take care of, how are we ever going to be able to decide on anything? We just don't have that kind of money. And I know we want to go for grants and stuff, but still, we need help from the city too. And it doesn't look like we're getting much of that this year, because you started off at 40-something thousand dollars, and then it went down to, now it's down to 21,000, and $3,000 more compared to last year is not enough for everything you're asking us to add on. That's I think that's what I'm thinking. I don't know about everybody else, but we're sitting here going, man, that's a lot to add on to our 18,000, and we really didn't get much done last year, except for the plants is the only thing that we did. So I think that's what we're more concerned about. Am I right? Is that what you're thinking, or is it just me? Girls?
Yeah.
I know we're not getting a lot of help from the city regarding, more money, but I think we just might have to shift our focus a little bit and try to get creative in different ways if we're not able to up our budget. I don't know what that looks like yet, but we might have to get more creative as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, as y'all know, that the Parks Department lands right in smack with the general fund. That's the street department, that's the police department, that's the fire department, and so unfortunately, a lot of times the Parks Department has to take the back seat to all the other departments. It just is, and because it's not public safety, it's not roads, people, and so sometimes the Parks Department. So we still have to go out and still ask for that money. If the money's not there, then we have to be creative on what we can do and how we can do it. But does not prevent us from asking. Doesn't prevent us next year and saying, hey, we want some playground equipment and put it in the budget. Again, all what they can say is, no. And then we'll just, go to plan B. And that's where, the Parks and Rec board is that, what y'all want to do inside those parks. Do we want, is there anything else y'all want to put in the family park? Until we get the grant money for BioWell, we still have to maintain the 2 parks. And so what are we going, is there anything additional that we can put into the general fund budget? Horseshoes, volleyball, equipment, different new picnic tables. Those are the items that, we still need to look at to maintain in those parks. And that's where the Parks and Rec board will come in and advise staff, say, hey, we like to see X in the family park, and then we'll get that and put in the budget.
So like if we wanted a splash pad, we could put that in the budget or something?
Yeah, if we want to put a splash pad, then I'll just reach out and maybe talk to a couple of manufacturers or engineers and see what they've cost at other cities, and then I'd get that what's going OPCC. It's an opinion of probable cause, what possibly would cost us, and then I would present that to the park board. A splash pad's probably going to cost about $500 to $1 million. I mean, they're not cheap.
Okay,
So,
and then we still have to pay the water bill on that.
Yeah, you still have to pay the water bill on that, and
Okay,
it's it's a very high maintenance issue. And 2 is that if you have a splash pad, you better have a big parking lot too, because every kid around the neighborhood and surrounding cities will be there too. So, yeah. So again, like I said, the documentation I sent, it's recommended, like the park board is there to advise the staff on what they like to see, and then we'll work together to try to put that in the budget and get cost, and then really kind of boils down to that, like I said, like the 6 pieces of equipment that I was, presented to y'all. It'd be, we recommend the park board select which ones they want, and we'll go with those ones the park board wants, and then we'll present that to the council. And so, I mean, I don't know how much more I can explain it. I mean, if somebody asks questions, I might be able to answer it. But it's like I said, the park board is advisory, tell the staff what they like to see,
So really quick, just looking back at that budget and noticing that we are now responsible for water, for the mowers and anything. Do you see anything else that we as a parks board will be responsible for, or just monetarily it moves over to the parks board?
The parks department will be eventually you'll see staff being coming out paid out of the parks. The bigger
Okay.
we are, where we will start having to hire somebody to specifically for parks to mow in parks. As big as we get, what we have, 7 more parks coming in, we'll have to dedicate 2 to 3 employees to the parks department itself. And so again, the bigger that we get, the parks department will actually become truly its own department, just like the water department, and eventually the street department will be the same thing. And if we ever get ball fields and all that stuff, then we'll truly probably have a full-blown recreational parks department. So, but yeah, more and more we grow, more and more the parks budget and the duties of the Parks and Rec board will get, because then you're going to be talking about Little League, as the policy says, that establishing programs and stuff like that. That's baseball programs, softball programs, and other programs for little leagues and all that stuff. That's kind of the Parks Board direction and running those things when we get bigger.
So basically, I don't think right now, our hands are pretty tied, as there's not much we can do until we can come up with some creative ideas, as Caitlin said, to see if we can move something forward. But until that point, I mean, there's really not anything we can do except just let the year go through as it is, unless something comes up, approving the lights or whatnot. We don't have a lot on our agenda that we can really address at this point or work towards.
Well, we have the bond coming up. We have a bond out for Park and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
For, what was it, Sean? 150,000?
Yes, it's 150,000. Yes.
So,
And then once when that comes through, then that's when the park board will kind of really gearing up, getting with the engineers or something like that, and going through what's the first stages and all that stuff. Uh, um, if we can, because a lot of that money will go towards engineering, and so then we'll have to get again creative, of especially if we go, that's roughly $300,000. Work with the engineers on what we can do with $300,000. Usually about 15% of that, out of the $300,000, will be engineering, and so then you'll be left with that, the rest of it to start with the parks. Again, you'll have, grading, and some other things that really cost a lot, and then we'll just have to be creative. What are the first items we want to put in there? It could be a sidewalk and just a small playground for right now, and then decide on what's phase 2, what's phase 3. Um,
and Debbie, that bond is coming in November. So,
but again, y'all do see stuff that again, we Parks Board still is a committee that get out, if y'all want to get to the park and look and see what are items that we need to address. We always take advice, say, hey, is there something we can do with this area here? Is there something that's what we need as staff, is that we see kind of like the mowing and maintenance and stuff like that. If there are detailed items that the Parks Board sees that needs to be addressed or wants to add to the bathrooms or something like that, that's where we need the Parks Board to go out there and say, hey, can we do this, or do we have the money to do this? And then advise us, kind of where y'all want to do with existing parks right now.
well, now that you mentioned it, Sean, there's been a few complaints on that bathroom. The bathrooms, they're very, very dark. Is there any way we can get some more light in there?
I will, since I know that, I will look into it.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anybody have any other questions?
Thank you, Sean, for going through all that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, there is no action to be taken on item C for right now. So the next one is future agenda items. Does anybody have any future agenda items? No, if you come up with something, you're always more than welcome to email Julie and she'll add them to the agenda for us. All right, if there's no future agenda items, do I have a motion to adjourn? Kathy, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, I'll call roll. Tommy Eason,
Aye.
Kathy Coffey,
Aye.
Debbie Coleman,
Hi.
and Caitlin Diltz, aye. Meeting is adjourned at 7:03 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Thank y'all.
Have a good night.
This conference will now be recorded.
No.